Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today, something really special.
Yeah.
We're welcoming you back to Transformation Talks, which is, I guess you could say, your After the MN deep dive.
hmm
And instead of a book or an article, we're unpacking a really powerful service from Transformation Ministries featuring three distinct voices. We have Elder Richard Ross, Deacon Jeffrey West Jr., and Pastor Jeffrey West Sr.
It's a unique format for us.
Hmm.
I mean, usually we're tracking one author's train of thought, but here it's more of a tapestry.
Right.
This was recorded on January 18th, 2026. And because of that date, the context is, well, it's impossible to ignore.
Hmm.
We are squarely in Martin Luther King Jr. weekend.
Right. And the theme they mention in the sermon is hope for 2026. But listening to this, it didn't feel like a standard commemorative service. It felt urgent.
Urgent's a good word.
Like they weren't just looking back at history, they were trying to build something for right now.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's not a history lesson, it's a manual. The mission of this deep dive is really to synthesize how these three speakers weave together the legacy of MLK, this theological concept of biblical hope, and, surprisingly, the Old Testament story of Gideon.
All into a unified guide.
A unified guide for what? A survival guide for navigating the night.
Okay, let's unpack this. We start with Deacon Jeffrey West Jr. He kicks things off, and he immediately reframes the way we look at the year 2026. He said something that really stuck with me.
I think I know what you're going to say.
We aren't stepping into the unknown. We are stepping into unfinished destiny.
That phrase does a lot of heavy lifting. Unfinished destiny. I mean, think about the difference between unknown and unfinished.
Unknown is scary. It's a void.
Exactly. But unfinished implies there's a blueprint, there's a plan, but the work isn't done yet. The deacon is establishing that hope isn't just, wishing for things to get better.
He actually quotes MLK's famous line here, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice."
Which is a quote we see everywhere. It's on murals, it's all over social media. But we usually interpret that as just optimism. We think it means, don't worry, it all works out in the end.
Yeah, just wait long enough.
Right. But Deacon West argues that for King and for us, this was not optimism. It was biblical hope.
So what's the difference there?
Well, optimism is a feeling. It's based on your circumstances. Hope, in the biblical sense, is a certainty that's based on a promise. He connects this to Romans 15:13. He's saying this hope doesn't come from watching the news.
Or looking at the courthouse.
No, it comes from God. It's an anchor, not a mood.
He also did a deep dive of his own into the I Have a Dream speech. I think most of us can recite the end of that speech, but he pointed out the scripture that's like buried right in the text.
He did. He points out that when King said, "The glory of the Lord shall be revealed," he wasn't just being poetic.
That's a direct quote.
He was quoting Isaiah 40.5 verbatim. The deacon's point is that MLK was taking ancient scripture and applying it directly to the modern struggle. He's showing that the dream wasn't just a political wish, it was a prophetic application of the Bible.
And that leads him to a definition of faith that I really loved. He called it Hebrews 11.1 in human language.
Oh, yeah.
He said faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase.
It's such a vivid image. You're standing in the dark, you know there's a staircase, but you can only see the one step right in front of you. Taking that step is faith. And that pivots us to the central metaphor of his whole segment,
The night.
the night.
This is where it got really interesting for me. He quotes King again, saying, "Only when it's dark enough can you see the stars."
And that is the crux of the deacon's message.
Yeah.
We have this tendency, especially now, to equate darkness with abandonment. If things go dark, financially, relationally, whatever, we assume God has left the building.
We panic. We reach for the light switch.
Exactly. We try to manufacture our own light. But Deacon West is arguing the exact opposite. He says, the night is actually when God gives vision. He references the book of Daniel.
Yeah, he mentioned his mom told him to read the first 5 chapters of Daniel.
And it's great advice. I mean, if you look at Daniel, where is he? He's in Babylon, captivity, a deep cultural night. And yet, that is where he gets the dreams and visions that map out the future of the world.
So the clarity comes when the artificial lights go out.
That's it. It reminds me of light pollution. You can't see the Milky Way from downtown, right? You have to go way out where it's pitch black to actually see what's always been there.
That's a perfect analogy.
So the deacon is saying, don't fear the night. It's where you get your bearings.
Yeah.
But, and this is vital, he reminds us of Psalm 30.5, weeping may endure for a night.
But joy comes in the morning.
Right. And the deacon phrases it so well, the night has an expiration date. It's not a permanent residence. It's just a season.
So we have this hope, we have this vision in the dark, but he warns that holding on to it isn't easy. It requires something specific.
It requires moral courage. This was a heavy hitter in his segment. He breaks down the three questions MLK posed about decision-making. Cowardice asks, is it safe?
Okay.
Vanity asks, is it popular?
That second one. Is it popular? That feels like it runs the entire world right now.
It drives the algorithm and it drives our behavior. We check the likes before we check our values. But the third question, the one that defines hope for 2026, is what conscience asks. Is it right?
That's a tough checklist.
It is. And the deacon is saying that if you want to navigate the night, you have to stop asking if it's safe or if it's popular. You have to anchor yourself in, is it right?
So Deacon West establishes the vision seeing stars in the dark. Then the mic passes to Elder Richard Ross. And he shifts gears. He takes us away from the philosophy of hope and into the mechanics of the movement.
Yes. Elder Ross takes us into the engine room. His main argument is that we have secularized Martin Luther King Jr.
How so?
We celebrate the man who won the Nobel Prize, the guy who gave the speeches, but we often scrub away the reverend.
He said something pretty bold, that the nonviolent movement would have been impossible without a belief in Jesus.
And if you follow his logic, it holds up. I mean, think about what nonviolence demands of you. You are standing there, letting someone spit on you, hit you, hose you down, and you choose not to strike back.
It goes against every biological instinct, fight or flight.
Exactly. And Elder Ross argues that the only thing strong enough to override that instinct to fight is the spiritual command to love your neighbor as yourself. He's saying that King's spirituality wasn't a hobby, it was the fuel.
Without the theology, the strategy of nonviolence just collapses.
It does, and he used a very specific biblical term for this role, the watchman.
Yes, from Isaiah 58.
Try loud, spare not. The role of the watchman isn't to be a diplomat, it's not to be liked. It's to see danger and sound the alarm. Elder Ross points out the deep conflict King faced. He had to call out a nation that claimed to be Christian.
The hypocrisy check?
It's a brutal hypocrisy check. He quotes 1 John. The scripture says, he who loves God must love his brother also. And the argument is, you cannot say you love God, whom you haven't seen, if you hate your brother, whom you see every day.
That's a lie.
Elder Ross calls it out as a lie.
He also touched on the mountaintop speech. And I'll be honest, every time I hear clips of that speech, knowing it was the night before he died, I just get chills. It feels like he knew.
Elder Ross leans right into that. He highlights that King seemed to have this, prophetic awareness of his own mortality. King said, longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now.
I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you.
That is the ultimate test of the watchman, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doing the job even if you don't get the reward.
It is. And Elder Ross turns this back on the listener, on the modern church. He asks, are we watchmen on the walls or are we silent? He's challenging the audience to follow that blueprint of boldness.
Yeah, it's not enough to just admire King. You have to adopt the stance.
Okay, so we have Deacon West giving us the vision, the hope in the night. We have Elder Ross defining the character, the boldness to speak up. And then Pastor Jeffrey West Sr. comes up to close it out. And he takes us all the way back to the Old Testament.
To Judges, chapters 6 through 8, the story of Gideon.
And this is where we get the strategy.
Yeah, and what I love about Pastor West's approach here is how he grounds this high-flying concept of hope in a very gritty reality. He introduces us to Gideon not as a general, but as a guy hiding.
He's threshing wheat in a wine press.
Which historically makes absolutely no sense. You thresh wheat on a hill, so the wind blows the chaff away. A wine press is a pit in the ground.
So he's choking on dust.
He's choking on dust, working 10 times harder, and he's doing it for one reason. He is terrified.
Hiding from the Midianites, he is in pure survival mode.
Exactly. Fear has shrunk his world, as the pastor puts it. But then the angel of the Lord shows up and calls him a mighty man of valor.
That feels like a mistake, right? Like the angel has the wrong address. Excuse me, I'm hiding in a hole. I am not a man of valor.
And that's the aha moment Pastor West highlights. God doesn't see you where you are. He sees what you can become. And the pastor notes that Gideon argues with God. He brings up his poverty, his status as the least in his father's house.
I think a lot of people relate to that, the imposter syndrome of faith. I'm not qualified for this.
Absolutely. But the pastor says, don't despise small beginnings. And then he walks us through one of the strangest military strategies in history, the whittling down of the army.
Right. He starts with 32,000 men, and God says, too many.
Too many. I mean, I've never heard a general complain about having too many soldiers.
No, it's
Well,
completely counterintuitive.
but God tells them to send home anyone who is afraid. And 22,000 men leave.
That is a massive walkout.
It is. But the pastor draws a crucial lesson from this. He says you cannot fight a battle with fear in the camp. Fear is contagious. He points out that sometimes people leave your life or your business or your circle, and it feels like a loss.
You grieve the numbers.
You do. But he frames it as preparation. It's pruning. You're getting lighter so you can move faster.
But then it gets even smaller. 10,000 is still too many. So they go to the water test.
The famous water test. God tells Gideon to bring the remaining men to the river to drink. Most of them kneel down, face to the water, but 300 of them lap like a dog.
And Pastor West made a really interesting point about this. It wasn't just about table manners.
No, not at all. It was about alertness. Think about the posture. If you are on your knees with your face buried in the river, you are vulnerable. You can't see the enemy coming.
You've prioritized your thirst over your safety.
But the ones who lapped,
Hmm.
they scooped the water up to their mouths with their hands. Their heads stayed up. They were drinking, but they were watching.
They were ready.
The pastor emphasizes that God wanted a team that was unified and attentive. He didn't need a mob. He needed a special forces unit.
So now we have 300 men against this massive army, and the weapons are also weird.
Very weird.
Trumpets, pitchers, and
It's
torches.
psychological warfare.
Yeah.
And Pastor West breaks down the symbolism so beautifully. They had the torches inside the clay pitchers.
So they were hiding the light.
Until the critical moment. The command was to crash the lanterns, smash the clay vessel.
And when you break the vessel, the light shines through.
Exactly. And the pastor explains that this just confuses the enemy. Imagine you're a Midianite, sleeping in the dark. Suddenly you hear the crash of 300 clay pots shattering, and instantly 300 torches flare up all around the camp.
Panic, chaos. They turn on each other.
Right.
So what's the takeaway for the listener there? Because we aren't fighting Midianites with clay pots in 2026.
The takeaway is about vulnerability. The pastor connects that clay picture to us. Our bodies, our egos, our carefully constructed exteriors, we try to keep ourselves looking perfect and intact.
Right.
But the light, the power, the testimony, the hope, it often can't get out until we are willing to be broken.
Crash the lanterns.
That's the command. Don't be afraid to be broken if it lets the light out.
Mm-hmm.
And the trumpet, that represents your voice, your praise, speaking truth. He says we need to sound the trumpet, even when the odds look like 300 against the nation.
He also mentioned that survival mode is only for a season.
And that links right back to Deacon West's point about the night having an expiration date. Gideon started in the wine press, hiding in survival mode. He ended as a victorious leader.
So if you're in survival mode right now,
The pastor is saying, you might be hiding, but that is not your permanent address.
it's a really powerful arc when you put it all together. You start with the definition of hope, having the vision to see stars when the lights go out. Then you move to the boldness required to stand up for that hope, the watchman.
And you end with the strategy staying alert, pruning away the fear and breaking the vessel to let the light shine.
And tying it all back to MLK, there's this recurring theme that the pastor mentioned.
Yeah, that hope is not about who finishes it. It's about who continues.
Unfinished destiny comes full circle.
Exactly. I mean, think about it.
Mhm.
Moses didn't get to enter the promised land. MLK didn't see the full realization of the dream. He died in the middle of the struggle. Gideon had to trust a plan that didn't make sense.
It's a relay race.
It's a relay race. And the message for 2026 is that we are part of that continuum.
That actually takes a lot of the pressure off. You don't have to build the whole staircase. You just have to
Mhm.
take the first step.
You just have to take your step.
Yeah.
And you have to do it with your eyes up, watching.
I love that. It shifts the mindset from I have to fix everything to I have to play my part faithfully.
And that is a doable mission.
Well, this has been a really rich discussion. It's heavy, but it is so hopeful. And honestly, we've just scratched the surface of what was in that service.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
There was an energy in the room that you can't fully capture just by talking about it.
I agree. If you want to experience that dynamic, you really should go to the source.
Absolutely.
So here is the call to action for this deep dive. If you want to join this community and see these speakers in action, we invite you to join them live. Transformation Talks comes from the team at Transformation Ministries VB. They are live on their YouTube channel and Facebook page every Sunday at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. every Sunday. And if you missed the live stream or you want to hear the full sermon we discussed today, Hope for 2026, you can watch the replays of the whole sermon on the Transformation Ministries YouTube channel.
Go check it out, give them a listen. And as always, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want to help us keep unpacking these kinds of insights, please like and subscribe to our channel. It makes a huge difference.
It really does.
Thanks for diving in with us today. Remember, the night has an expiration date. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.